Alright guys, this week we're going to be taking a break from the boot camp. We're going to be taking a break from our assemblies, and I'm going to do a video that's been requested for a long time, and it's basically going to be like a stream of consciousness and like how do I get logos made to cut out in my shop. So it's something I get asked about all the time, so today we're going to tackle it, so stay tuned. Alright, so some of you guys that are watching this channel have been with me for a while, and I've gotten a lot of questions asking how to kind of make logos and how do I get my signs for my students and how do I teach them so quick to be able to like take a logo and copy it and make it their own, and then we go and we cut it out of metal in the metal shop. So today we're going to kind of show how to do that. So the logo I'm going to use today, I've been putting this off for a while because I didn't want to take like a McDonald's logo or a Nike logo and then deal with that backlash. I've drawn my logo so many times and I've kind of done it in a video already, but this one is going to be a just straight stream of consciousness. Let's show what's going on. And so our video today, we're going to be using the logo from Trade Hounds. So Trade Hounds, if you guys don't know, is a really cool social media app that I found a couple months ago, and I'll put a link down in the description for you guys to sign up if you want to. But basically what it is a, I think like Instagram, but for everybody in the trade. So I showed my students this, and Trade Hounds, I reached out to them and I was like, hey, do you guys have any merch, any stickers or anything? And they took care of our kids. They sent them a bunch of stickers and are hyping them up, and it's a really cool way to showcase what these kids have been doing, and it's kind of like job searching. They're able to see like there's drywall techs in there, there's engineering, there's I think welders, pipeline welders, you name it. There's HVAC, there's all kinds of different trades that are in there, and we're just trying to get these kids exposed to as many things as possible in the realm of trades, and we're trying to make trades a popular subject again, and these guys know exactly what it's about. There's giveaways on this site all the time, and my kids are all hyped to show off their work that they're doing in class. So thank you guys again, the people at Trade Hounds, and we wanted to do this logo for you guys, and actually we have cut it out, and I'll put some footage of that in here. The kids decided they wanted to help you guys out, so we drew this up and we cut it out, and it will be coming your way eventually. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So first thing you need to do is bring an image in. So I have this image that I screenshotted off of their webpage, and what's nice is this one's going to be a little bit different. We're typically used to a straight black and white, monochrome, to where I can jump in and do a little bit of simple, and when we're doing metal, whatever's there is going to be one color, and whatever's not going to be there is going to be the other one. Now we got to do a little bit of finagling and making this thing work, because the way we did it is I actually drew it up like so, and so I'm going to show you how to go from that image to what we're working with right here. Okay, so I'm going to start a new part studio, and in that part studio we're going to start on the front plane. We're going to press Shift and S, N to normalize, and P to hide those planes. And next thing I'm going to do is come up here to this drop down, and you'll see insert DXF, but what we want to do is do insert image. You're going to come down here to this import button, and you'll select your file. I already have mine imported. Afterwards it will show you this, and now up here at the top it says draw an image rectangle. So what we want to do is go like so and place our rectangle. Now my students get really antsy, and the first thing they want to do is start just drawing. Okay, now I took this screenshot, so it's not a perfectly designed picture. The distance from the S to the right isn't the same as the distance from the T to the left, so I kind of just grab it and eyeball it and find something that's going to work for me. So what I did here is I used the center of the nose to be the center of my origin, and kind of just went with it. I think you could go here too, kind of in the middle. That might be a little easier to eyeball. And then afterwards we're gonna draw a line on our sign. So let's say that I wanted this line from the T all the way to the S. I'm gonna click. That's 14 inches. Okay, now you saw how I pressed escape. The reason I did that is because I want to dimension that line, but if I did it right there, actually I'll just show you that. If I draw from the T to the S, 14.34. If I say, hey, I want that to be 25 inches, you'll see it'll just make that line 25 inches, okay? And I don't want that. What I want to do is click off, and now if I dimension that line until it's 25 inches, the whole thing will scale up. I don't know why that's the case. It's like scaling things accordingly. So once we have that, what I like to do so this line doesn't interfere is I delete it. I'm going to select the green check mark, and now I'm going to come up here, start another sketch on that same plane. So we did the front plane, okay? And now we can draw. Now one thing I noticed real quick is that my origin is not where I had it originally after I scaled that thing up. So I want to go ahead and move that back in kind of to the center. We'll go right there, right in the center of that dog's nose. All right, cool. We'll accept it, and it'll go transparent on us, and that's what we want. So I'm going to come down here to my sketch 2, and now we're just drawing and we're tracing. Now what I like about this logo is that everything is pretty much block letters. So all I have to do is pretty much use the line tool, and I can use the equals tool to help me. But the hardest part is going to be drawing this dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, a construction line. So we're going to press Q to make that a line down the middle. And now I can start drawing, because what's nice about this line, or this dog, is that it's symmetrical. We can draw half over itself. So then I'm going to come in with the spline tool. I have mine, if I press S, it's on my shortcut keys here. But if you don't have that, it lives up here under this drop down. You'll have this spline, so we'll go ahead and click that. And I'm going to go ahead and start on this eyeball right here, and just kind of come right here, go around, and just start clicking. And the way the spline works, you'll see it's smart, and it wants to follow wherever I click. So I'm just going on that inside of that blue. I'm going to hit that white line right there where the two colors meet, and then when I come up to the top, I'll touch it, and now I have that completed shape. Okay, so we're going to continue doing that all the way down. One of my students that was helping me with this was like, well, just draw all the blue. And then we kind of came into some problems because we're actually going to end up using this outside white piece to help us with some outlines later. So we drew that one. We'll come up here. I'm going to go to the center of this nose right here. And the reason I'm only going to go to the center is because we're going to mirror that. So again, keep following down with that spline. I'm still in the spline tool. And this is going to be a perfect spot to show this. So when I get to the end right here, it is going to kind of curve the way I want it, but it might not do it all the way down. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to press escape, and then this is one line. So then I'm going to pick up my spline again at that point, and then start curving a little bit more. So all I'm doing on this is just kind of zooming out, pressing that center mouse button to pan and move myself around, moving my mouse, clicking. And if you notice, you see how those, everything, it wants to line up with everything, right? All those tracking. I try not to have it align with any of those. So if I can put a point in a little bit further of a spot, I would rather not click and have it line up to another point that I've already done. And the reason for that is if I go to add a dimension to something later, it'll tweak the whole drawing unless I've fixed all the parts in place. So we're going to just keep on moving around. I'm going to go all the way up here. And once we get to that center line, I can go ahead and stop. And you'll see, how do I stop now? What do I do? I just press escape, and it'll let go of that part right there. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. Let's do this inside of this nose. Boom, boom. We'll go all the way around. And you'll see, oh no, I messed up. All right, so here, after I press escape a few times, I can drop that tool, and I can just grab this point and move that to where I need to because I messed up right there. I can grab that piece here, and if I zoom in a little more, if I want that to actually curve. Obviously that's not the way I want it to go, but I can curve it the way that I want it to do just by moving those points around. So that's a pretty cool feature that exists in the spline tool. So we have half our nose. We're going to come down here and draw this other half. And so what I want to do is continue that center line all the way down through all those pieces I'm going to draw. A little oversight that I didn't pay attention to. We'll go back in with our spline. I'm going to come over and we're going to keep tracing and go in here, and once we get to that center line we're going to press escape. We'll come up and get this right here, and this is where it's kind of crucial to make sure we follow these sharp edges, right? I want that to match the logo as much as possible. Our whole point of this is making logos that are recognizable, and if we've done too many things to them to where they're off and they don't look exactly like what the customer intended, what's the point, right? If it's not recognizable, it's not going to get the job done. So we have our pieces there. We'll fold that over. That'll get mirrored over. That'll get mirrored over. Next, I want to draw this outside of here. So we'll just keep on moving and we'll follow those curves. I feel like right now I'm giving major Bob Ross vibes. Get some happy little lines here, and we'll go ahead and set that. And I don't know, maybe I'm just talking to myself. It's too late. I'm too tired. But we'll just keep on moving. We'll follow this outside line, and you'll see why we're going to do the blue, and then we'll come back in and do that other white side here in a second. So I'm going to stop it right there on that corner, pick back up because I want that sharp edge. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I'm not tracking on any of those other pieces, and then here's going to go a loop all the way around, and I know to stop when I get right to my center line. So a couple of things to do along the way. I'll go ahead and zoom out. If I shut off sketch 1 by closing the eye right here, you'll see I'm starting to get my shape right now. This is what the line looks like, and all those dots, those are going to be our spline points that we've been doing. Right now we'll go ahead and mirror it over just so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. So I want to select everything, so I'll select my mirror line, mirror it over, and we know we did a good job because we have a solid shape that I can pick, right? It's grayed itself out and I can pick things. So we'll turn that back on, spacebar to unselect everything, and now I'm going to go up here and draw this hard hat. So we'll go up here. Now a couple of things to know. I could have drawn this part with a line, and that's what I was about to do, but then I have to change tools and change and shift from a spline to a line. Well, if I do a line and I don't add any other curves, if I only give it 2 points and I press escape, it's only going to be a straight line. So it's a couple of things, time-saving tips you can do, and then pick right back up instead of going back and forth from line to spline. That's what I've come to notice, and I've done quite a few of these signs. I just did one for a construction company who's doing a 20th anniversary. They've been around for a while, and they're making a sign to celebrate. Really cool sign that I did for that. I've done some for fire pits. I've done some for a bunch of different things, company logos and whatnot. And once I do it, I just throw headphones on and lock in and just keep clicking around. Okay. So now at this point, what I typically do is if I were to continue this line down, it's not going to give me the shape I want, and I'm going to end up having a bunch of jagged edges. So I'm going to press escape, pick back up with a straight line, and honestly make it longer than it needs to be because I need to curve this right here. Okay. And then what I do here is I pick up with a line where that would go, but instead of being a line, I use the line arc line command where I can come back and touch it. Oh, come on, it's not going to do it now. just use the arc tool instead, 3-point arc. So I'm going to come right here, and go out to where it needs to be, and then drag that down like that. So you'll see I get my arc that's perfectly rounded. I don't care about the dimension because we're not doing any actual, like it's not like a part has to fit in that slot. It's just art, and as long as it matches the shape. So now I'll go back one step. I'm going to trim out this line, M to trim, and I'll just cut that line off, escape, and then come back with my line, but we're going to come back with spline, and we're going to keep following it up. And again, we'll do a single line there, escape, bring that back up to a spline, and then I think this one will go to about there, escape, and then come back down again all the way to there, escape. Mind you, I'm still in the spline tool. We'll come back over, and we'll stop about there. Another method I've used too when I start getting to these angled ones like this is pressing O for offset, and instead of giving it a measurement, I mean it's gonna technically give it a measurement, but I just drag this to where I want it and eyeball it. And obviously the better the picture quality, the better it's going to be. I just took a screenshot off of their website, and then we'll say okay. I can delete that and come in here with my 3-point arc, boom, boom, and do it like so. Next thing I'm going to need to do is extend that line. It's not going to let me extend that line. So instead of offsetting that, we can just draw another line. Move that out of the way. There we go. And if I touch on this, I can make sure that it's going to be tangent to that circle. And then we'll pick back up, follow all the way to the top, and go here. Now, because I'm still on the line tool, because it was straight line after straight line after straight line, I'm good to go there. Next thing I'm gonna have to do is come back down here with my spline, and I'm gonna continue over on this hard hat, the bottom brim of the hard hat, and we'll go until we just meet that center, and then press escape. So now we will zoom out, we'll mirror the hard hat over so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. So we'll select that line, we'll mirror it. I want all of this to be mirrored, and that line and that line. So if we were to, oh, I added an extra line up there, we can get rid of those. That's something I like to do, is just always check along the way. Now, I am far from done, but what I like to do at this point, if you wanted to turn this into some sort of 3D model, you could, to go and maybe you're using this for woodworking. This is perfect for engraving if you're going to engrave into something. But I'm a very firm believer in, when we do metal signs, I want to be able to hold the logo and not have to worry about, you know, piecing things together. I'm thinking about if people are going to hang it up, they just want to put 2 screws in the wall, or depending on how long it is. I guess on this one we did 4, and not have to think about, you know, oh well, let me add the helmet, and then now let me add the face of the dog, and let me make sure everything's level. They want to just line it up, make sure it's straight, sink that bad boy into the wall, and go from there. So what I like to do is just turn everything 3D. Now, I cut a lot of stuff out of 10 gauge, which is 0.140. So we'll make our depth 0.140 after we've turned to an extrude, and we'll say OK. And now what I like here in visual for students is this is two pieces, right? We have part one over here and part two, and they are not connected. And so what I'm going to show you next is what we're going to do to kind of make that happen. I like just drawing some lines. We'll go from here and here, and as long as we make them parallel to one another, that'll work. And then again, same thing, we'll mirror those two over that line. And what's cool here, if I shut this off, we can see now it's all connected. And I can click this final button, and since I've already done something with it, it knows, oh, it's already an extruded form. So I don't have to accept it and then go back. I can still be in the editing mode if I click and unclick this final button right here. So again, zoom in up here on your sketch 2 box. There's a final. If I click that final, it'll show me what it would look like as if it was completed, or what the next step would make it look like. So we can say okay, and there is our dog, our trade hound. Now this is perfect for just the logo. However, we know that we want the letters with it, and this is what I get asked about all the time. How do you add breaks, and how do you do this, and what is your technique? So that's what I wanted to show. So come back in Part Studio 2. I think our trade hound looks great. Let's jump back into Sketch 2. We'll turn Sketch 1 back on. We'll get back to a normal view. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to draw a line from this T all the way through my dog, all the way to the end of my S. But before I click, I want that to actually be a construction line, and that'll save us some time in the future. We're going to have to draw on top of it, but what we're doing, it's going to help out. We want all bottom of all our letters to be exactly the same spacing, and we want all of our tops of our letters to be the same spacing too. So we can do that again up top while we're here. Just some things to kind of set you apart from other people doing signs. If you take the time and do the small details, it's going to totally make your sign stand out way better. Now, if we look, their letters aren't exactly perfect, but we're going to make them that way, and we're going to make sure that we are on the top. And again, it could be because of my not perfect screenshot, but we can still get the job done and make sure things look correct. Okay. Now, one thing we noticed when we made this is I didn't really like these slots here because it looks great on a sticker, but we're going to need to add this white border on the outside as well. And again, we're only going to draw half of it. So we'll draw from the bottom here all the way around and go. Some of you guys might want to just use the offset command, and sometimes that works. However, sometimes for splines, it doesn't always. And so if we look, if I did this, it's going to be 0.091. I'm just going to make that 0.09 exactly. And then we're going to have to do that hard hat. So offset this. It might let me do this side. Yeah, it gets finicky. So offset failed. One spline generated multiple offset curves. So 0.09, 0.09. There we go. And then if I did it again, offset this, we'll go the other direction. Yeah, it's not liking this design. So I'm not going to do the offset, and I'm just going to go with Old Faithful, my spline tool. Let's go here. We'll start here, and we'll just work our way around. So we'll zoom in, and you just hang on for the ride. We get up here. I'm going to escape, pick back up, so it'll be that sharp corner. And we'll round here, because that's how it is in the logo. All the way around. And I'm actually going to stop right here to save us some work, because I do not need that to continue all the way around. And I noticed that when I was moving, I messed up two of my dots right here. So what I want to do is kind of just fix that a little bit, see what the overall shape looks like. little minor details like this are some things that you're like, oh, no big deal, nobody's going to notice. But the first thing that people do that don't know plasma cutting is they're going to run their hand along it and they'll be like, wow, this looks really good. And like if you know, like we said, like the McDonald's logo is supposed to be nice sweeping M's, and you get a jagged edge and you feel it on it, you're like, that's not right, and they're going to judge you, and they have no idea how to do any of this, but they're still going to want it to be perfect. And if they're a paying customer, it should be perfect. So that's kind of some things to think about. So I'm going to keep moving along. Coming up here, I'm going to stop right here at this corner. Escape, let it catch up, do its thinking. I'm going to pick back up with my spline again, kind of add some curve to that. And then keep on moseying. So sometimes your mouse gets finicky, like I just clicked and it clicked twice for some reason. So I'm going to not go right there on that line because I know it's going to mess up later when I go to move stuff. And I'm just going to keep going. We are almost to the top of this logo. I'm going to end right there. Escape. Pick back up. In this one, because I want it to be rounded, I can kind of come up like this, and instead of stopping, yeah, no, I don't know if I like that. So I'll pick back up with a straight line and escape, and then go to the top because we know that needs to be straight on, and we'll stop there. So there I have my outline. Now, one thing I noticed is I messed up kind of down here. I did those 2 dots. I just kind of drag it and straighten it out, make sure the rest looks good, and that's good there. If we check final, it's going to still look the same because I haven't mirrored that over yet. So what we want to do is we're going to take that center line, let's mirror, and we'll select all of that, all of those, and we have our up to there. Let's pick that one. And that one. And we'll go up to there. And you'll see it picks right back up. And that one's even longer than we need to. I started at where that E started because that E is going to continue into the face so we can hold it all as one sign. But if we were to do this right now and we say okay, I'm going to now have that extra outline. So it's kind of backwards of how I would do it, but I'm going to draw this letter E first, and then I'll draw the H so we can get some shapes done, so we can see what we're dealing with this Trade Hound dog. So I'm going to draw this E just by drawing lines to where it connects. I'm going to go here, draw, stop there, go here. Now when I draw letters, I do always try to make things track. To keep dimensions straight. Like I know the letter E is supposed to have straight lines, and I know that like that height should be pretty much the same as like those other ones, depending on the font style, but I know these need to match exactly. And then we go up and we go over. Now what's nice about not putting any dimensions is I know this and this need to equal each other. So I can just click each one and press equal, and now they're going to be good. I'm going to come back up, touch that, and go over. And I'll drag that little piece out just a little bit. There we go. So now we have this done across here. So my E will be added. Let's do our H, and our H I'm actually going to do a little trick I've done and just continue a little bit further over. Go, boom, come on up. And now this is where people ask where I learned this stuff, and this is lots of years of doing this. So I know in Onshape that if I draw a line and I go to the center of a line, I can pick up that center point, right? Well, I'm just going to draw a quick little construction line in the middle, and then I'm going to trim this piece off. That told me the middle of that line, and I know the letter H is symmetrical. So then if I picked up from here, tracked up to the top, Let's zoom in a little bit there. Tracked up there. Tracked with this one straight up. Didn't turn it into arc. There we go. And then went over. And then went up. And then went over. And then went down. And then went over. And then stopped when I got there. Gave a couple rules, said, hey, like I know I need these two to equal each other. And these two need to equal each other. And then we can kind of spread some stuff, move things out a little bit. And this part needs to stay vertical. So now I'm just kind of cleaning things up, making sure that they are as good as we need them to be. So now I have all that. I can then use this line to mirror. And this is where I use the blue selection because I don't want to mirror my line over. We'll go there, 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 and there. Okay. Now, a couple of things to note is obviously we are off-centered a little bit, right? So what could I do to move some stuff is just kind of drag it around, and it's going to kind of clean itself up, okay? If I tied actual measurements to all of this, it would not look as good as it does. But I think we're close enough to the what the real image looks like that we're going to be okay. And so we'll go there, finish down to here, and then come on over like so. Last thing I want to do is extend that all the way down, and then zoom in real tight and make sure that we trim that extra stuff off, okay? Doesn't seem like a problem now, but I swear later on, that's when things make or break your drawing. You have a random pierce somewhere, a random point, and you're like, yeah, I checked everything. And then that's what ends up jacking everything up. So I can go ahead and delete that construction line now. If I select OK, and I turn that sketch on, you'll see now it's changed some things in how we've done them. So this is where we need to go into an extrude. And we need to pick what we want. So we want that to stay in and that to stay in. But now we've lost our logos on the top, on the head, our hard hat lines, right? We need to make sure that those are there. And it's kind of hard to tell what this is without some spacing here. So I'm going to show you kind of a trick I did to do that. So that's how we would go do that. So we'll say accept, go back into Sketch 2. And at this point, I like to turn this on. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to take these lines all the way down to here. And I'm going to use the slot tool. And it's huge because right now it's at a 0.5, so we're going to tell it 0.125. Okay, and it doesn't like it because it's trying to do all of these at once. So if I press escape and I do this line, you'll see, and I do it as a slot, and we tell it 0.125. It's a little big. Let's try 0.1. That gives us a little bit of space there. Then we do that again. We'll accept it. We'll pick that one up. Yeah, so it's gonna be, what if we did 0.075? 0.05. You know what it is? It's right here. So it needs kind of a break somewhere. So if we did here, and we did a slot, so we add a little break there. It's still going to give me a problem. 0.05, not 05. We'll do 0.02. Or .04 doesn't work either. 0.03. There we go. 0.03 is going to work for us. And this is, like I said, a lot of what we do in 0.03, make those even. A lot of what we do when we do this on the plasma table and stuff, most of the time I would just actually cut this line and make it a cut line instead of turning it into a slot like this, because that's double the cut. I would just let the machine do its work. So we'll say accept. And if we look now with sketch 2 off, we get that and we're back to 2 pieces. So we need to make sure that in extrude, we actually have those pieces right here selected like so. So we'll say okay. I'll zoom out. And we have our kind of detail lines, which makes it pop a lot better. What I would do here is actually add some little breaks, because if you were to cut this from here to here, that dog face is going to kind of like flap open and shut. So let's add that right now. I'm going to draw a line from here to here and then mirror that over that way, and then I might add one like a rectangle like here, and cut those parts out that I don't need. And again, we will mirror that over, and I want that to be my mirror line, and I want to mirror those pieces over. Now if we say accept, we'll click our extrude again, and we'll add those chunks in so it stays connected. Now some of you guys are like, the way that drawing looks, it's kind of a mess later on when we go to actually like cut this thing, and you're right, but I'm going to show you a trick on how to do that. So we'll accept it, and we have our shape. We just got to fix this hard hat piece up here. And the way I do that is I'm going to draw I'll do a spline. We'll turn sketch 1 back on. I'm going to kind of go from here and let that continue. Actually, I don't like that spline. Let me fix that. Do that spline from here. I can toy with it a little bit. There we go. And then we'll just go like that. And then same thing here. We'll do a spline on the top. We'll finish there. We'll go like such. We'll say okay, back into our extrude, click that and that, so those pieces will stay together. And we'll make sure we mirror those over as well. So we'll mirror those two like that, and those like that. I love logos that are symmetrical. It makes life so much easier. We'll cut that off like so. We'll shut sketch 1 off. And you'll see now we have our shape. So last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to quit talking for a bit and just keep drawing. I might speed this up in the video when we do this, but I'm going to go finish all of these letters, and then once I get to some things that I need to talk to you guys about, I'll pick back up and I'll talk, and I will show you how to add a bar at the bottom and add our holes. So I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to keep drawing, kind of speed run this thing. So here I go. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to show you is my thing I use all the time. Okay, so we have our TRADEHOUND. We've reused that D. So I'm going to bring that D from over here and copy and paste it over here. So what you're going to do is select all of this. I'm going to press Control C and then Control V. And it's just going to place it up here. Now I'm going to zoom in on this so we can kind of see. Okay, I am moving it from this bottom left corner. So if I use this, it's going to move it up. If I use this, it's going to move it right or left, or this will move it up or down. This one is going to scale it, and this one is going to rotate it. But if I grab this square right here, it'll let me move it in multiple directions, up, down, left, right, wherever. And I'm just kind of placing it over off to the side for now, so I can zoom in to my other spot. And so what I did before I came back on is I drew that line, and what I'm going to do here is just take that point, line it up, and you'll see everything's going to match exactly. What we don't want is to have multiple letters in the same text that look a little different from one another. So after I have it there, I'm going to go ahead and just accept by clicking off in random space, and now I can delete that extra line, and now I can continue on with this S. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one off really quick. Go from here, boom, and I'll just keep working my way around because this is our last letter. So to kind of prep you for what we're going to do next is I am going to finish this letter, and when I go to make this thing a final piece, all the letters are not touching, they're floating off in space. And so like I said earlier, if I wanted this to be a solid metal sign, I'm going to have some issues because I'm going to have to, like, I'm just thinking if I were to pay a guy to mount this thing, what a nightmare it's going to be trying to get this thing to all be attached and level. And with my luck, if I was hanging it up, I would hang one letter wrong, and You know, if you guys are married and have ever hung up a picture before at your house, I'm sure your wife has told you exactly where she wanted to put that picture, and you'll do it 15 times before she figures out where she actually wants it. And hopefully you didn't use a bunch of big screws and nails along the way. But if you can get it done right the first time, this kind of eliminates putting a bunch of holes in your wall before you figure out where you actually want it. So we'll go up here and we'll continue to there. So now we'll accept that. We'll zoom completely out. And like I said, if I shut sketch 1 off, and if we look over here in the corner, I have 9 individual parts, and that's because it looks like we forgot to draw the line on the bottom of our U, so we'll go back in and fix that. Oh, it looks like it's the top that's missing. And we forgot to do something on our A. There's something that's broken, obviously, right there. We forgot to mirror that over. So a good way to check. But what we're going to do next is we're going to draw a whole rectangle that ties everything together. So we're going to go from like the middle of this T all the way to the S over here. And we're going to trim out what we need and we don't need. But what's nice about doing it this way is I'm going to do it on another sketch. So we have sketch 1 where our canvas lives. Sketch 2, let's go in and fix this real quick. So now if I delete these 2 construction lines, it's really easy to see what we forgot to draw in. So I'm just going to connect those really quick. I missed that line there, forgot to mirror it over. And on here, a little harder to see. So how do you fix that? You click your 2 points and you press I for coincide. Now, let's say you couldn't find that and you're searching, and I've done this before where you're looking at every single piece. You're trying to find where the heck everything's at. Well, cool thing to know is if you come up here to this little pencil and then click Profile Inspector, it'll tell you where loose ends are. And so if I back up, you'll see there's loose ends in a bunch of different spots. Okay? Well, let's go through each one. So this first one doesn't really matter to us, but I like having clean drawings, so I'm going to delete that guy. Our next one is up here at the top. Why do we have a loose end? Because those don't actually connect. So again, if we make that coincide with that, and because they're symmetrical, everything will lock in place and we'll be good to go. Over here, this loose end is because we didn't trim the rest of that hound face, and the same thing here. We have some things that don't exist on the same spot. Things got moved a little bit. So if we tell that right there to coincide, and then we look at the one above it, we'll tell it the same thing, coincide with one another. Now we have some loose ends over here. And so sometimes you might end up going on a what I've told my kids before, it's a wild loose chase because you're trying to fix all these loose ends. So what I do is take one line that I know is good, or that I could recreate. I'm going to delete it, and I'm just going to draw a line from point to point. And then afterwards, I'm going to give it that rule that it needs to be vertical. And we should be good. So same thing here. I knew this was one, so I'll delete that. We'll turn my profile inspector back on. Check that loose end. So from here to the top, right there, and tell that to be vertical. Our only loose ends we should have should be these 2 right here. So I'm just going to delete that line completely. And again, draw it from here to here. That fixes our U. And my last loose end is right there. There's one. Where's my other one? And here I drew that line twice somehow. So let's delete that. Let's delete that and that one. And we'll tell it that this needs to be there. And it needs to be vertical. There we go. So that fixes our shape. And we are good to go. So that last loose end is this piece right here. And the way to fix it, I could just come in with the trim tool and just cut the rest of that off where that excess was. And now we have no loose ends, so we are good. So I can accept. Everything is how it should be. Separate shapes. We have 10 different parts now. And now I'm going to click this T, do a new sketch, and we're going to draw a rectangle that's going to bind them all together. So I know I need that to touch from the bottom all the way over to the S. We'll track from here up. And right now it's 23.897 from the middle to that. And here I could go 1/6. Let's see what 0.25 looks like. Yeah, that doesn't look half bad. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more extrude. And this time I'm going to go in and just pick the pieces where they overlap. The problem is if I just do that whole rectangle, it's going to cover everything that I just did, all my work. It's going to give this dog a mustache a little bit if we go the other way. Let's see. There we go. And we tell it we tell it not blind, we tell it up to face. There we go. Okay, and it looks good. However, it made a separate part. So what we need to do is tell it to add and merge with all. And now we have one solid shape. The problem is I don't like that it cut off that detail in between all the shapes. So what I like to do is go and tell it to use. So we're going to press the letter U, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to use that line and that line. And we're going to use things to our advantage to kind of make them be used throughout this drawing. So we're just bringing in these things that are going to cut. I don't need to bring in the whole drawing. That's good. I'm not worried about any of that. I do need that and that. We'll go here. We'll go here because I don't want this piece in the middle. And that all should be good. So if we say OK, and now we go to our extrude 2, we'll just pick the pieces that we actually want to connect because it'll connect through all of this. So we'll say OK. That can touch. That can touch. And you'll see as we start to fix this, it'll all start to turn one solid color. We don't want it to connect there, but we do want it to pick back up over here, connect to there, connect. I don't want it in the R, and we'll connect it to the T. And now if we select OK, everything, we'll shut our sketch off, everything is one solid color, one solid shape, and we can actually read what it says. So pretty cool way to do things. If we look at my other one, I did it a little bit smaller. I think I only went, let's see what that is, 0.23, so a little under 1/4 inch. This one I did a thickness of 0.25, so a little over. You'll see little details. So the U doesn't really look like a U anymore once I go to 2.5, but if we look at it in 2.3, I get that little gap there. So a couple of things to pay attention to. A million different ways you could do this. I'll show you. Last thing, I'll show you how to add holes. So I'm going to come on, draw another sketch for my holes, and literally I'm just going to place one kind of. I know I want it centered on this T, so we'll come to wherever that is, and I want some 0.26 holes. The reason I do 0.26 is I know the screws that I use are 0.25 on that head, but sometimes it doesn't always cut perfect, so I want a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go, I know I want one on an E, centered on an E. And so we can track from that kind of. And the way I tracked that, I didn't like it. So we're going to go from here up. And this is almost easier because it's so far away to just draw a construction line horizontal all the way through your drawing. And let it go all the way through. I'm going to put a circle here, track up, boom. I'm not going to give it a dimension because I'm going to show you a trick here in a second. We'll put one on the center of this H, and then we'll put one kind of on this S over here, central to that. Boom. Okay, so now I'm going to select all of my holes, and because the first one I gave it a dimension, I can press the letter E and they will all now be equal. If I go and press Shift and E and remove, you'll see it's going to cut those holes, and now my Trade Hounds logo has a way to be mounted. So that's going to do it for us on here. Again, thank you guys so much at Trade Hounds for taking care of my students. I'm going to send you guys a message and try to get your address to send you guys some stuff. We have made this. I'm going to put some pictures in right now so you guys can see it on the video. Pleasure working with you guys. Again, tradehounds.com. Check out their app. See what trades your kids might be interested, or maybe you're looking for a new type of job, or you're trying to see. They have some tools on there to see what you're worth. They have some financing options on there. And I know I've seen they do giveaways like every other day for shirts, for hats, for tools. Check out our profile. I'm going to be featuring the students and them working. And I encourage you guys to do the same. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys so much. Take care.